Fickell will stay at Cincinnati. Luke Fickell, who was, by all accounts, Michigan State's #1 candidate to be the head coach at Michigan State following the retirement last week of Mark D'Antonio, is staying at Cincinnati, and this is a blow. There's no other way to measure this if you're a Michigan State fan. This is definitely a shock because I think a lot of people thought that this was a done deal. Mark D'Antonio said last week that people would be running to take this job. They'd be crawling to take this job. And unfortunately, it's just the opposite. They have been running away from this job. Maybe it's because of the timing. Maybe it's because they think something else is coming. It's very hard to say, but this is a bad day for Michigan State. There's no other way to slice it.
No, and honestly, I'm not shocked. Like I thought even D'Antonio, when he said, people will run, to East Lansing to take this job.
Maybe in December. Maybe in December,
sure.
Maybe you would have gotten a hot assistant in December.
There's no doubt. There certainly would have been a bigger pool, of candidates. So, but that just speaks to the timing of it. Like people, that wanted to celebrate D'Antonio. Gosh, he's done so many great things for the program. And, they were, remembering him. Oh, everything will be fine. They're going to get Fickell. They're going to do this. Well, doesn't this really, lay in the lap of Mark D'Antonio with Luke Fickell turning Michigan State down at this point? The timing, how long he waited right before signing day, didn't have a chance to go get a staff, didn't have a chance to recruit. That kills a head coach wanting to come in and make an immediate impact in year one.
It absolutely lays in the lap of Mark D'Antonio. I think it lays in the lap of a leadership void on the part of Bill Beekman and the Michigan State Athletics Department for not putting the screws to D'Antonio back in December and saying, which is it, Mark? Because we saw the trend here, and it was impossible to ignore. And I give full credit to Valenti because he called this out before any of the rest of us did. It's a tired program. It's trying to rely on the past, the way it used to do things in the past, and it wasn't going forward. And they're going to put themselves in a really bad position. And everybody knew after the ridiculously bad offense in 2018 that they had to do something different in 2019. So what'd they do? Nothing. They rearranged the assistants, and the offense was arguably worse in 2019 than it was in 2018. So at that point in time, you go to this great coach, this legendary coach. You say, Mark, it's been awesome, but we need to know what's happening here. If you're going to shake up your coaching staff, it needs to happen now. If you're going to leave, it needs to happen now. We're not waiting until February. So for him to do it in February, it reeks to me of the void of leadership. Unless, and if this is true, and I'm just putting it out there because I've talked to some people who have suggested that this might be part of a larger scheme on the part of D'Antonio. He did all this to get Mike Tressel the job.
And I lean that way. I really do. Now, is something else going to come out? Does D'Antonio feel like, that deposition, boy, there's going to be some nasty details that come out. I got to get
no.
away from this. Yeah. So it's all put to bed. Yeah, and of course.
He said last week it had nothing to do with it.
Nothing
Bogey.
To see here. Yeah, no, of course. So we don't even have to ask about it or speculate on it. But to me, the timing of it was weird. And I made the reference, I think, that day doing the show with Woj. It did have, to me, a feel of Bo Ryan to Greg Gard. It just did, where essentially the university was forced to keep Greg Gard for that season. He could prove himself. He did, ended up being the head coach. D'Antonio never wanted to bring anyone new in. He never wanted to go out and find a young, sexy offensive coordinator to change things up. Mike Tressel's been his guy. Why wouldn't he try to do the ultimate favor? Because he's done them favors the last 4 years. He hasn't fired anyone.
Exactly.
Hasn't gotten rid of anyone. Right. So maybe this was the final, hey, I'm going to do you a solid. They're not going to have a choice. This program needs to stay the way that I want it, which is weird because if he actually is close, with Luke Fickell and they have conversations, why wouldn't he want Fickell to get the position? You know what I mean?
Well,
to try and set it up.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just weird.
Maybe it was all part of a, Fickell gets his attention. Maybe Fickell gets a nice little pay raise out of this. Maybe Fickell signs an extension at Cincinnati with a massive buyout, which some other school can pay next year. And to a conversation we're having earlier. And by the way, our phone number is 248-539-9797. If you are a Michigan State fan, what do you think about this news? Luke Fickell staying at Cincinnati. Are you discouraged? Are you disgusted? Or do you see, I don't know, is there a sliver of light in the clouds? Because, you made an interesting point off the air because you were looking at the offensive stats from last year, right? And Cincinnati, by bringing in Luke Fickell, it's not like Michigan State was going to start running the spread.
No. Not all that much different, honestly. I mean, defensively, clearly, that would be something that, would remain. But the offense would also be something that would, not really improve all that much. Now, of course, it might get a little bit better, but it's not like Luke Fickell is this great offensive mind and he's bringing in this offensive coordinator that's really going to change the game at Michigan State.
Yeah.
I just think people need to chill here. Obviously, this is the target. Bill Beekman, you don't even know if he knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
The scariest thing is, does anybody up there really know what they should do now? Because this was the given.
Well,
and the plan B seems to be Tressel. I would point to one Luke Fickell as Mike Tressel. It can work out. Luke Fickell was an interim coach for a year at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
They could do that with Mike Tressel, and it might be safer to do that and get yourself the right coach next year.
Urban Meyer.
Yeah. Hey, why not? You want to be big?
Well, no.
I wasn't thinking that, but when you said it, I sit here.
No,
and
it led to. I mean, it's funny you bring up Fickell at Ohio State, and you're exactly right. That was. I'd have to. When was Tressel let go? Wasn't that in the middle of the summer? I mean, that was much later than this. I really am uncomfortable with going with a interim coach for a year. I just don't think you can do that. But then again, what sort of a pool are you drawing from at this point in time? I mean, any coach now that you hire almost has an interim tag attached to him because they're not going to get some big money contract. It's going to be like a wide receivers coach, or it's going to be Pat Shurmur. I mean, it's, I was joking off the air. They should do what Arizona State did and find the next Herman Edwards, Jim Caldwell.
Marvin Lewis.
I mean,
Steve
go
Mariucci.
find a former, Steve Mariucci. Yeah. Does he have a connection with Izzo?
I heard that they're relatively close.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. From what I understand.
That would be amazing.
Bruce Feldman from, where is he? I don't even know where he is now. Fox Sports, I believe now. He, of course, worked for ESPN for years. Wouldn't be surprised if Michigan State made a run at Giants assistant Brett Bielema. Proven winner at the Big Ten level, won 40 games his last 4 years at Wisconsin. He's a big presence and would re-energize that fan base in a hurry.
It seems like there's a stench around him.
It certainly didn't end well for him at Arkansas, and he really pissed a lot of people off the way he left Wisconsin between the end of the season and the Rose Bowl, the way he did. But I'm not enthused by Brett Bielema. But then again, I guess I'd be more enthused by him than Mike Tressel.
So you think at this point, okay, if Mike Tressel, I mean, he's already the interim head coach. You think that Michigan State, if they were going to keep him and just, move forward, that fan base would be okay with Mike Tressel getting like, what, a 3-4 year deal to be the permanent head coach? So
I think the fan base has been not lost, but I think they are very, very angry right now.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't know that they're going to get more angry if Mike Tressel's the guy for a year while they go, you know what? Wow, didn't expect this. Need to reevaluate. You need to take a look at the pool of candidates next year. This is going to be a transitional year. We know it's difficult, but we want to make sure we get this right for the long-term viability of the program. I think that's the only way Tressel stays on.
Bogey, it's not a bad point, and I guess I don't want to be a total hypocrite because I remember last week we were talking about the recruiting class and Fickell's recruiting class at Cincinnati, and I said I think way too much is put into one class. People get, Michigan State actually made a mistake with Bobby Williams because they so desperately wanted Jeff Smoker and Charles Rogers back in the late 90s. There's another class coming down the pike, another class after that. So are you sacrificing 1 year with an interim tag? I guess the worst case scenario, which is in a way the best case scenario, is that Tressel defies expectations. Michigan State wins 7 or 8 games. They do better than anybody thinks. And then he earns the job because it's like, well, hey, the interim earning the job, Lloyd Carr, Brian Ellerby, sometimes it works and sometimes it really doesn't work.
Me and Stoney have been on this name. Jim Leonard, the defensive coordinator for Wisconsin, I think should be given a phone call. My problem with all this is I seriously don't think Bill Beekman knew who Jim Leonard was this time last week. And that's not a knock on it's not a personal shot at Beekman. I mean, do you think this guy knows football in and out? No,
I don't know that he knows football in and out. I mean, we had, Brian Masalam on last week, and he raved about Beekman. He said he's a much better leader than some people give him credit for. Somebody on Twitter said Michigan State violated Jerry Jones' first rule of the search, which is if you have your coach, keep your coach. Make sure he gets on the plane. Don't leave the interview.
Exactly.
Don't let him consider it. I mean, basically, if you got him, get him. So
don't say sleep on it. We'll talk tomorrow.
I think the only scary thing with Leonard is I personally feel he's destined to be an NFL head coach.
All right. Breaking news is brought to you by Radio.com Sports. Powered by Radio.com Sports. And brought to you by the midsize Metris from Mercedes-Benz Vans. Jamie and Stoney. Bogey in for Stoney. More on this coming up next. And, of course, with Carson Anderson at 10 on 97.1 The Ticket. We are 5